Let me introduce you to Jimmy. He's pretty average, virtually no definable qualities, but that doesn't matter. Well, it's happy hour. You're at a party. Have some fun. A few drinks couldn't hurt. Oh wait, it's the middle of Prohibition. The cops are coming. Run, Jimmy, you dirty criminal. With your sheer willpower and cardio training, you make it away unscathed. You know it's wrong, but you want your fermented fix. Your local pub where everybody knows your name? Bankrupt. Your favorite bank? Well, the stock market just crashed, so your banker friends want to go to the pub. A real classic catch-22, more or less. Tragically, you worked part-time as a bartender and a bank teller, so you too are broke. One afternoon, you go outside to get a newspaper or something. Some sketchy guys are hanging around the block being sketchy. You see some beer, your nose senses the alcohol. You approach with some hesitation. Where did you acquire your alcohol? You ask the sketchy man. He looks around with the stench of impish glee. He stares into your soul. What's it to yas? This is the start of the American mob. We're talking about organized crime. Different mobs in different areas doing different things, but they usually follow a pretty consistent pattern. You have multiple levels of power and influence. The lower levels commit crimes, make money, and contribute some of those earnings to the boss. This money allows the boss to bribe law enforcement and judges and keep the mob cars full of gas. You can think of it like a business, but with murder. These mobs are primarily based on ethnicity. You got the Irish mob, the Italian Mafia, and probably some others I didn't research. Irish mob was pretty huge in the early 20th century. Scary stuff, scary people, but pop culture favors another group, the Italians. This organization has many names. La Casa Nostra, the Mafia. Doesn't matter what you call it, you know what I mean. You got the boss at the top, his underbosses, that's simple enough. Then beneath them you got the capos, the made men. Now these guys are a part of the family. If the other mob families want to kill these guys, they gotta ask their boss first. Some rules apply to be a made man. You gotta be a true Italian American. That's important. Also important is that you kill somebody for the family. Maybe somebody parked too close to the boss. So you gotta kill him. Everybody else is the associates. They aren't in the family per se, but they still contribute money and get some level of protection. Very bureaucratic. Anyway, back to Jimmy for a second. Remember how he was so pitiful, broke on the street wanting alcohol to forget his woes? Well, that was common in the 30s. The solution to a better life was simple. You just need to be a mobster. You saw them walking around all cool-like. These bootleggers had their own private beer halls. Fancy cars, fancy bars, and fancy cigars. That's the life Jimmy wanted, and that's the life Jimmy got. And so did many others, as the mob's manpower rose. More people means more money, which means more power. The mob, they were unstoppable. A lot of mob activity was in pretty impoverished areas, so for generations, the most successful members of a community would be the mobsters. Now, many would idolize these guys and want the same kind of life, so they too committed crimes, made money, smoked cigars, and wore fancy hats. It was a culture that basically froze in time since the 30s. The law enforcement was catching on. You couldn't just arrest a mob boss. There was never a good way to convict. You need evidence, court of law, and such. Undercover agents began sneaking into these inner circles of the mob. They got names, the boss's name, the boss's boss's names. People started getting arrested, and the mob couldn't offer that protection that they always had before. And since these mobsters were arrested, they started talking to the police. You see, in the mob, it's kind of a requirement that you don't talk. But in exchange for, no prison, they did. With the mob compromised, its power began to deflate. Trust in the organizations began to dissolve, and with that, the Mafia fractures. We think. We only know this stuff because of the guys who talked. Maybe it's all a lie, I don't know. But at the end of the day, just remember, this all happened because Jimmy wanted a beer. This is Tyler of Knowledge Hub.